Hello, and welcome to the CADimensions 3D Printing Podcast. We do these podcasts every single month covering recent events in the 3D printing world, and we just have a great conversation around 3D printing, technology, and what it can do for the world. As a company, we try to find the best tools possible and then distribute them in our region to help engineers make a better impact and build a better world and stuff. My name's Adam Fosnot. I'm a hardware applications engineer. Joining me is...
I'm Kevin. I'm in the marketing department.
And also behind the camera is...
Hey everybody, I'm Ben.
Hi, Ben. So, the very first thing that I wanted to mention before we get started is that, I don't know if either of you guys have seen it, maybe not, but MakerBot put out a teaser video. I didn't send this in the email.
I was going
about what we were going to talk about. Nope, this is a surprise.
Ooh, all right, so what is the video
MakerBot
teasing?
I try to avoid teaser videos.
Do you?
Yeah.
Usually they don't give you much information, and this one also did not give you much information. It's essentially MakerBot is launching a new machine. They're formally announcing it on February 4th, so I don't know exactly when this will go live on the internet. But regardless of whenever you're watching this, Ben will put a link to the announcement in the description. We don't know much about it, so we can't give our opinions, but click on it and give us your opinion in the comments, and then maybe we can talk about your opinions in the next episode.
What do you prognosticate would be in such a new technology?
Prognosticate. Man, that is a word.
And the only reason I'm using that word is because it's Groundhog's Day on Sunday, and that's like makes me think of Groundhog's Day for some reason. Because they call Phil the groundhog the prognosticator of the weather.
Wow.
So, forecasting six weeks into the future, Adam.
Okay.
What do we know about this?
All we know is that it was some panning shots that like kind of showed the corner of a machine, and then it showed a bunch of colorful 3D prints, and it had a title relating to education. And so MakerBot, if you didn't know, is currently the most popular 3D printer used in education, mostly with their 5th gen replicator and the Replicator Plus. They took kind of a pivot and released the Method and the Method X, targeting more manufacturing and engineers.
Entry level for manufacturing applications.
Exactly.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the machine makes sense for that audience because, it prints ABS and ASA and even nylon now.
Serves a lot of base function.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good small prototyping machine for actual engineering materials.
Did they share the name?
They didn't, which even bums me out even
What do you
more.
think? Do you have any guesses for the name?
It's gonna be
an iteration of Method.
The MakerBot Play or the MakerBot.
What about the Method Z? So you call it the Methods and make it more kid friendly.
I like that.
How about the MakerBot Method Man? And it's just a wrapper who prints for you, and just like you little. No. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
This is the kind of creativity we get late on a Friday.
Yes, we do. I like the Method Z because it could be like the Method, but for Gen Z. So that sort of makes sense, but I don't know.
Why is such an ugly letter? It would bring up more questions.
Yes, it would. MakerBot, but why?
So, so you seem excited about this.
I'm
is it
intrigued.
just because it's product launch?
I'm intrigued because of how little I know about it.
Yeah.
And my prediction is a smaller, cheaper, PLA-focused machine.
How about faster? It seems like print times is always something that can be improved, and especially for a school where you might have not just an engineering department calling on the demands of the printer, but you've got 30 students who all need to print something. I could see speed being a concern there.
You're right. Actually, I've always been impressed with our print speed with Stratasys, and when we had the Method in the lab, got moved to another office. We talked about this in some episode in the past.
Thanks, Rochester.
We've cried over that before.
Yes, we have. I miss the Method. It was just so cute compared to all of our equipment. Anyway, our print speed is always geometry dependent, 2 to 5 times faster than the common at-home 3D printer.
Sure.
So I would absolutely love if that was a capability that they moved into this new machine.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I've always liked about MakerBot is it's so easy to use software-wise. Nowadays, it's all Wi-Fi connected, and you can track jobs and material usage really easily. So I'm hoping that a lot of those things that I liked about the Method and that I like about our Stratasys equipment trickles down to that, because I know that would be super important for educators.
So we'll see what's happening on February 4th.
February 4th.
The big reveal.
That's the day. There will be a link somewhere. Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Now to our regularly scheduled, not surprise, topics. A story that caught my eye within the past few weeks was antibacterial 3D printing.
All right, so I'm going to feign a little ignorance here. So when a part or an object is 3D printed, it's porous.
Yes.
Because the plastic is porous, right? So how are they going about the antimicrobial process to ensure that? Is it just that how does it work?
It's a special material. So it's a silver infused compound that they can essentially blend into normal 3D printing materials. And so the silver compound kills bacteria, and it doesn't allow them to link together and form bacteria films, which I learned was a thing while reading this article.
Would it? So, all right, where does this hold the most practical application?
Oh, I
know.
know.
Obviously,
Video game controllers. Those things are gross.
Video game
fair point.
controllers.
They do often say the remote control in your house is the dirtiest thing you
Yeah.
have. That's a very good point.
I have also seen like silver-lined like clothes that are supposed to just like eliminate odor because the silver kills bacteria.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But really the
These
biggest...
are my silver undies.
Yes.
You only need one pair.
You'll only need one pair for the rest of your
It's a Silver Surfer
life.
costume. It's just one piece of it. So antibacterial.
Yes.
And obviously, healthcare is going to be implantables. You look at surgical devices.
That's exactly right.
Things like that. That opens up a lot for them.
So today, 3D printing is used in the medical industry for lots of different things, but it hasn't been used for things that actually touch like wounds or in surgery because two things. One, it's the porosity, like you mentioned.
Right.
Both
Porosity is a word?
Porosity is a word.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to find a way
Kevin.
to use that. I just always use porous, so I would have probably said porousness. So I'm glad to have learned porosity.
Porosity. But 3D prints, especially FDM ones, have both micro and macro porosity.
Yeah.
And so the macro porosity is the larger areas of porosity just made by the little indentations in between each layer, and then it also has the overall porosity.
So it's actually a part of the printing process. It's not like a
think
tumble
it's-
treatment afterwards where you coat it in silver
I think it's
or something,
entirely
right?
material based.
Yeah.
And so I think this
Almost like carbon fiber?
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of having chopped carbon fiber, I don't know the specifics. This is from the University of Sheffield, by the way.
Oh, of course,
Over
Sheffield.
in the UK. Of course, Sheffield.
Leading researchers.
They're always doing crazy stuff over there. I think it's just a mix-in for the filament. But the possibilities of extending 3D printing's reach into the medical field, I think, is definitely worth noting.
Yes.
I can't think of any other 3D printing process or material that can actually be used and implanted
In
into
your persons.
people.
Yes.
And as I'm saying that now,
Titanium.
I realize titanium. You're right. As I think about it, you're right. There are lots of other 3D printing things that have been implanted into people, but it's few and far between, right? It might be...
This opens up a lot more opportunity
Yes.
because it overcomes one of those big challenges.
Yes.
So
more for medical tools compared to implants, I think, is where this is going to come into play.
like specialty tools for certain surgeries and things like that would otherwise be expensive to recreate limited numbers of, or
Exactly.
Yeah.
And doing different geometries. Like, every body is different.
Right.
And so being able to quickly, cheaply make custom medical tools that can be used in surgery could be, really beneficial for
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Interesting. Very cool applications that could come from that for sure.
Yeah. I
What about
agree.
even just like I'm just trying to think if there are like household things that I would, like you said, I love that your first idea was a remote so that it's not, picking up the bacteria in your house. But
I have a story to tell you.
There are probably lots of practical applications for that. Toilet seats.
Yes.
Lots of stuff.
It should be toilet seats.
I hope he doesn't ever listen to this podcast. So I'm not going to give a name out. But the reason why I thought video game controller is the first time I went over to one of my friend's house. And he just got married. he's about to move out of his parents' house.
And you started smelling his remote controls.
No.
Okay.
All right, I didn't know him that well.
You saw him wipe his sleeve, wipe his nose.
No,
and
I didn't
then
know him
grab
that
the
well. He
controller.
was my wife is best friends with his wife, and so I was just trying to find something to relate to him with. And in his bedroom, there was this box, and on the top of the box was weightlifting chalk. So like you see those big strong dudes, they put chalk on, they do a lift.
Yeah.
Hey, I go to the gym. I was like, oh, you weightlift?
Oh,
And
no. I don't like this.
he stares me right in the eyes. He says, actually, that's while I'm playing video games and my hands get too sweaty. Not a joke.
I guess that's a real concern, I guess.
Shouldn't be.
When
And
you-
I said, oh, okay, all right. And just, he didn't think it
I
was
mean,
weird.
these are the tools of the trades of professional gamers, Ben. This is what separates the men from the boys.
When you're gaming harder than anyone else, you need chalk.
When you're
It's
worried
a
about
sport.
calluses on your thumbs.
Yes.
yeah.
I just couldn't imagine ever touching that controller if his concern was my hands are slipping off of this because I play too long.
It keeps flying out of my hands.
To be fair, I don't think any of us are making fun of professional video game players. I suck at
Oh,
video
hell no.
games.
I'm making fun of people with really sweaty palms, to be clear.
You know, Ben, now I take offense to that. I'm a very sweaty person. Regardless,
Eminem
we
has
have
songs about it.
2 other things we want to talk about
Yes.
today. The first one is that there's another 3D printed house.
It is so hard to do a podcast and not talk about this topic because I feel like
It's starting to get a little old.
It is more and more prevalent. I feel like every time somebody does it, they submit it to the news, like, wow, look what we did. And then it gets exciting for a second, and then everybody realizes, yeah, they've been doing this.
Yeah.
And it kind of dies down a little bit. But there are different...
Here's the cool part: $6,000, less than $6,000 in materials.
So
That's pretty darn cool.
And so what I wanted to ask you, because there was a picture attached to the article that you sent, which looked like a large gantry standing over like the entryway to somebody's house. And that was kind of like the final stage. What about modulars? Like if you build a prefabricated home, you have certain parts of that are built off-site and then brought in. What could 3D printing do for like modular applications for a house? Like instead of waiting for the concrete guy to come and pour your foundation, you could do it and do it in 3D printed and then do something. Are there options for that? I don't know.
I don't think there are options. I don't think those are the ones that make headlines, but as a technology, I think that's probably where it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Like prefab homes and just keeping this gigantic, we're talking like 100 feet by 100 feet, massive 3D printer in one place and not trucking it all over the world.
Is that the point of a modular home, though? A modular home is built inside in a dark warehouse, and the goal is to make a house as big as you can and as cheaply as possible that can fit on the back of a truck. And I think weight would come into question there if you're moving cement. But also, I don't think that a 3D printed home will ever be faster to build than prefabricated big pieces of plywood and just putting something together that's also really light to transport.
You might be right, and I wasn't thinking about the weight.
Mm-hmm.
The article mentions that, to answer the time question, it saves 70% in time and in material cost.
In comparison to a home built on location.
But not a prefab modular home.
Where everything
gotcha.
is in shop, you have cranes going over you, you can move everything doesn't have to be mobile. I don't think it's comparing itself to that.
That's a good point. I was reading some article the other day of China, who they are building hospitals and homes and like structures for people like within a day. Like,
well, they're
big
actually building
structures
it off location and installing it there in a day.
Because they have like home factories where they're building like prefab structures and then carting them out to be able to, I believe it was quarantine people or house them or hospital them or whatever because of the coronavirus.
Talk about antibacterial 3D printing materials.
Print their house with it. Print China homes.
But that's a real concern for hospitals.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in with something that is spreadable like that, and it can live on hard surfaces for days. So that could be on the side of a bed railing that if that is manufactured from that type of material. It doesn't retain the...
Yeah, and if they continue to eat bats, that's how it spread, I believe.
Right,
Maybe you make a
something like
bat cage. Make the bat cage out of your antimicrobial 3D printing
3D
material.
print housing for your wild animals so that...
Oh my goodness. You guys have taken this a place that I did not expect. I have been, apart from this one news story that I read, I've been staying completely away from all of the coronavirus
it's hard to
hysteria.
avoid it,
It's hard because it's everywhere. But I'm trying not to get caught up in it.
But just thinking, that is a practical application. Coronavirus aside, hospitals, places like that, where you have those hard surfaces where they are constantly disinfecting. Schools.
Yeah. And it was a great way to tie the first two stories together.
Yes.
So
But
seamless
back to the 3D
transition.
printing.
Well.
Back to the 3D printing.
Back to the houses.
Building homes with a 3D printer is awesome for custom stuff, but in a mass-produced environment where you're going to use a lot of angles, a lot of squares, and you're already in a factory building them, I don't think it's the fastest option. When you go to transporting it also, if you can make it in a lighter concrete that is easier to move around, absolutely, but...
Yeah.
So, and I think we've talked about this before, but it's going to be a while before we're driving through the suburbs of upstate New York where we are and see modular 3D printed homes on large scales.
I don't think you'll see any modular 3D
or any 3D printed homes. I think that where this has the most practical application, like we said before, are underdeveloped countries where resources are scarce, where housing is scarce, and you need quick temporary shelters.
I had a thought, though.
Priorities in that regard.
These houses in particular are interesting because they're fire resistant because they're made out of concrete. They're also severe weather resistant. So
Australia brush fires
would
be perfect.
Hurricane prone.
New Orleans. I can never say it in a way that satisfies me. But anyway,
Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic,
yes, Haiti. This technology should be used there, especially after damages, because it rebuilds the structure quickly, cheaply. In theory, you could just drive it down the road and keep printing houses as you go.
Right.
And it would withstand the next severe weather event.
That's a very, very good point.
Wow.
Good application for it.
Yeah, for sure.
While they're rebuilding it right now, maybe that's something what they're doing.
Let's call Congress. But it's funny to me because this is the same company we talked about a while back on Long Island. And so this is semi-local to us.
And now they're making the news for multiple things.
For
and
multiple
really
houses.
They're
the
really
last house
cool
they
stuff.
did was 500 square feet. This one is 1,900 square feet.
Okay.
So, again, last time I wasn't super impressed. I don't think any of us were super impressed, just to speak for
sir.
everyone else here.
Yeah.
It mostly looked like a barracks or a small shed. This has multiple rooms. It's 1,900 square feet. That's a little bit more impressive, in my opinion. So, big growth steps.
Time is going to improve all of those things, and those companies that are pioneering that kind of stuff are going to learn and lay the foundation for other companies down the road.
Lay the foundation.
You little 3D
the other
printing
cool thing
house
we haven't talked
humor.
about. So after the podcast, the first one about 3D printed homes, we had this guy reach out to us, and he actually makes the material for the cement for the 3D printed homes. And I assume there's multiple companies, but he's one of them. I forgot his name. Right, share it right now. But you have to watch this video. He gets regular cement and he puts it on a tray, and it kind of just falls down flat. And then he gets his cement, where it's just like a little mixture. It's the same type of cement except with something added
with
to
his magic sauce.
Yeah, and so he puts the cement down, and he can then build it straight up, just over a foot high.
With his hands.
Yeah.
I think
Just
you
show-
showed me this video at one point. It was pretty cool.
It's mind-blowing because if you've ever used cement, you know
I
that you
have.
cannot put cement a foot in the air and have it perfectly flat walls. So whatever he did, and apparently it's as strong as regular cement too. It just can take it, keep shape a lot
I
better.
was 14. My mom wanted a fire pit, and I'm like, don't go buy a fire pit. I can make one. So I got a whole bunch of concrete, and I built a big plywood mold and poured all the concrete in there. And it was way too heavy. And the first time we had a fire in there, all the concrete cracked because I knew nothing about concrete. Still don't. My mom still makes fun of me for that.
Is it still there?
When I visit? Oh, no. The thing fell apart like within
really?
2
Just
fires. I went to college and left the mess there. My mom was like, "Would your feelings be hurt if we got rid of this?" I was like,
It's kind of like throwing away the art project in 5th grade.
"Yeah." I wasn't offended though. I recognized that the project was not.
That's
not good.
important.
It
That's
also
important.
wasn't like level, so it was. I'm not good at concrete.
It's a valiant
And you're an
effort for a
engineer now.
teenager.
I feel so safe.
You're
with
right.
Everything you build.
But I'm not a concrete engineer or a structural engineer or whatever. I stick to what I know,
There you go.
which is 3D printing. But talking
So-
about
What do you know about 3D printing for the rest of the year, Adam? That was my transition.
beautiful transition, that's way better than whatever I was
They're
going to come
bad
up with.
transitions if you call them out there.
I love calling out transitions. Any podcast I listen to where they just have a rough, awful transition, I always have a good chuckle. Hopefully our audience appreciates it. If not, there are other things you can listen to, I guess.
There you go.
So it was 3dprintingindustry.com that published. They had some awesome headline like 100 3D printing experts give us their predictions for 2020. And I skimmed
Were
it.
we asked
Oh, no, not
about this?
2020.
No, we
This is
weren't.
crap.
Not 2020.
It was 2030.
2030.
They had a different headline that was 80 3D printing experts give their predictions about 2020.
They found 20 more people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Well, now it's 101.
Now it's
or
101
81.
because the world is getting our opinion, even though nobody asked for it.
Well, I'm asking for it. What is your opinion of the state of 3D printing in 10 years?
I don't know about 10 years. I was mostly thinking about this year. But I have a handful of opinions. From the engineering, industrial side of things, I think that 2020 and probably through 2020 through 2025, we're going to see a huge growth in high-strength plastics. A lot of people think metal is a huge hype right now. We saw new metal 3D printing companies popping up pretty much monthly throughout 2019. But all of those companies are just at the very starting point of developing their technology and finding a place for it. Whereas high-strength plastics are really just an extension of FDM, FFF technology that's been around for 20, 30 years. And so I really think, and we've started to see the bits and pieces of it with anisoprint starting up in Russia, and then Desktop Metal's fiber machine, which has huge promises that I can't wait to see. High-strength plastics, I think, are going to continue to see more and more widespread adoption. High strength and high temperature would be probably my biggest prediction.
I think if I'm looking 10 years down the road, I think the ubiquity is just going to be the most common thing. It will just be very, very commonplace for you to go and shop as a consumer and have something just like it's genetically modified today, and that was a novel thing in the 1940s. Today, you'll go and pick up a widget off the shelf, and it'll be 3D printed, and you might never know as a consumer. I think that there's a lot of scale applications that will come around, and there will be certain products where they're first movers for sure, but I think a lot of things are ripe for 3D printing to upend their current processes.
In light of upending current processes, and again, I was just reading something earlier today where what some people are most looking forward to is eliminating shelves, if you will. And so you wouldn't be going to the store and pulling something off a shelf. I mean, maybe they took it off the printer and put it on a shelf, but disrupting the high volume location based production.
Yeah.
Where production can become increasingly more local as 3D printing comes lower in cost, as materials come lower in cost.
I saw something like that was for bread.
For bread?
It was on like a news magazine show on the weekends with like Mo Rocca or something, and they were in a grocery store in Great Britain, and this guy had invented a machine that you walk up and push a button, and it makes you a fresh loaf of bread right there.
I love
an automated
that.
thing. And then you go, and it's 45 seconds, and out comes your
That's
loaf of bread.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Who doesn't love fresh baked bread?
It was
that
a
is so
giant
cool.
machine for what it produced, but it was like I don't want to go back to the bakery and get something and have
Yeah.
it cut. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's fresh, but you can do it right there. So you're saying you'd be able to do that kind of a thing with headphones, with
Yes.
a USB adapter for your computer, with whatever it might be.
Right. I mean, those are all kind of like high-reaching things because they have electronics and they have plastics and they have all this other stuff.
But if we're looking
But-
in the future, who knows?
So you're right. It could easily be integrated with multiple systems, pick and place, CNC, whatever. A great example might be a phone case. Simple multi-material plastic.
Sure.
We're only going to talk about phones, apparently. I've got a little clip that clips onto my vent that holds my phone while I'm driving so that I have my navigation in front of me. I think everyone should have one. If you don't have one, go buy
If
one.
you're an Uber driver, you have to have one.
Yeah, be safe while you're driving, okay? Life is too short to walk around or drive around with your phone in your lap while you're navigating places. Right, Ben? Thank you. Anyway.
Ever since I had kids, I stopped doing
Like, is
that.
this going back to a story you and Ben had? I don't know.
No, Ben just had a look on his face that made it seem like he was one of those people that has their phone in their lap while they're navigating something.
No, I just out
Am I
of
right?
pure luck, I have this awesome. In my front seat in my truck, I have a third in the middle.
Okay.
I fold down, and the headrest holds my phone perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My cup holder.
All right,
has
so
a
you're
place.
like walking that line, but I'll
No,
let you
it-
get
it's just,
cup holder
it's
has
right
one
in the
that's
view.
perfect to
Does
fit my
it?
phone.
Hmm.
But ever since I had kids, I really stopped. I lost the urge of dying in a car crash completely.
When did you start that?
Was there an urge, Ben?
At what age did
Right
that
around
urge?
sophomore year of college when I realized how much longer I had of
It
college.
was somewhere around finals of sophomore year.
Gotcha.
Good, that's
Well,
important.
I'm really happy
Glad
you've
you're
grown
here.
out of that phase.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Ben, do you have a prediction, or if it's not a prediction, is there something that you want to see out of 3D printing?
Depends. 1 year or 10 years? Is this a 2030 or 2021?
Let's do both. Let's start with 2020.
2021 by the end of 2020? No, I'm
Yes.
kidding. It doesn't matter. I think just prices are going to go down.
Okay.
The market is starting to get saturated. Competition is going to start taking over, and I think prices have to go down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Prices have already gone down, and
lot.
I might argue with you. I think we've hit the bottom.
Really?
All right.
I don't
I
believe
think
you.
we have. There is a current printer now. It's comes out of China. It's the EZ3D X1A2
Well,
whatever.
we can sacrifice quality, but
it's
look at
$89.
flat screen TVs.
It's $89.
Do you remember the cost of flat screen TVs when they first came out? They
I
were
don't.
astronomical.
the one that I have in my bedroom was $3,000.
Oh.
You can get the same
It
one
was
for
obscene.
maybe $100.
For
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than that, and it's like
And it's
twice
high
the
quality.
size, and it's way better
that's
quality.
crazy.
So with 3D printing, you're gonna get a crappy printer for $85, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, soon you can get a nice printer for a whole lot less.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you?
Oh yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
2030.
By
want to-
2030.
all
Okay.
right, by 2030.
That's a decent goal.
As long as it's legal.
I'll give you that.
I want to own at least one 3D printed gun, including the barrel. I think that would be really cool to have almost a fully 3D printed gun. But that includes the high pressure area where you were talking about earlier about higher pressures and higher temperature plastics.
Yes.
That'd be sweet. That'd be really sweet.
You know
As a
what?
novelty, not my main carry gun.
Sure.
You know what I just thought about too? I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. They're gonna grow up in STEM programs where they're gonna have exposure to 3D printing from a
Definitely.
really early age. And I think about, I'm not gonna call you a kid, even though you were younger than me. But somebody like you, who is a little younger than me and was exposed to this technology, around high school? At what age?
College.
College.
Yeah.
Think of
It's after my
think,
first year of
think, think
college.
of the next generation of engineers who are going to grow up utilizing 3D printing, having more access in inner cities too.
Yeah.
And the focus on STEM programs now and the integration of 3D printing, I think you're going to see the ingenuity of the next generation of engineers have a whole lot more behind it because they're going to have way more time and room for experimentation when you can make things on your own. You don't
Yeah.
have to wait for it anymore, and you don't have to wait to college to try that stuff out.
Exactly. Actually, in a lot of conversations I've had visiting different customer sites, that's already happening. I talk to so many people who their engineering managers like, yeah, we weren't really looking at 3D printing, but then we hired this intern and they really said we should be 3D printing, and now we're looking at it more as a business and how we can make use of it.
And so those interns,
thanks,
they're,
kids.
they're 18,
Yeah.
19, 20 years old now, right? Or
Yeah.
they're maybe 23, 24, but they're just starting to bring this stuff into these organizations that are 50, 70, 80, 100 years old.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
And
Meanwhile,
to get into that market, to show kids how great we are, and to buy from us, Kevin is going to start doing Fortnite dances at the end of every podcast.
yes.
At the end?
Yeah, when everyone can turn it off.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
You're not gonna put it at the beginning.
No, I'm cutting you off.
Woo!
Gosh,
Oh.
it.
On that
We can
note,
edit
I
that
feel
out.
like that is a
Should I cut that off?
Let's edit that out. And welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, everybody.
And we just ruined our podcast.
Oh, what a shame.
Good job.
If you want to keep it and embarrass me, that's fine.
It's up to you.
I would prefer if,
I mean, this
if
is
internet
live.
dance. No. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly the next generation is capable of when they grow up utilizing 3D printing technology.
Yeah, I was going to mention my mom teaches elementary school.
Yeah.
And they have maker spaces in all of their schools.
Yeah.
And 3D printing is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And they're like doing intro to programming and all this other stuff where I think, that's going to have an avalanche effect as they grow older.
We got a game for my son for Christmas. And it's like a beginning to coding game. And so it's like, entry-level software programming engineer kind of stuff, but it's the foundational stuff that will lead to good programming later.
That's awesome. I would have loved that when I was little.
Right? It's cool.
I have a lot of hope for them because our generation was given cell phones, and now all we can do is stare at cell phones. But maybe if we give them a manufacturing tool, all they'll do is like build cool stuff.
I had those. Do you remember those
We're
circuit
wasted.
boards? Do you remember the circuit boards you would put together and you'd make like different sounds by connecting different?
Yeah.
I had like, you could make like a little machine gun sound if you move the red wire to this screw, and
I
you
did
could
not
make.
have
Oh my
that.
god!
I had
corny
it
little
was
stuff like that.
like a battery pack, and it was a bell, and it was like a motor, and then it had little springs that you
Mhm.
connected with wires. I had one of those, but no like cool soundboard.
No, it wasn't cool. Don't
Oh,
worry.
okay.
It was
It was
there.
not cool.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool for me if I was little. Anyway, anything else you guys want to mention about the future before we wrap up?
Yeah, what do you think is going to get phased out? Say 10 years from now. 3D printing's huge. I have my 3D printed plastic gun. Walking around with that. What's going to get phased out? Same time.
I don't think anything is going to be phased out completely. I'm not willing to make that claim. But I think the trend that we've seen is FDM 3D printing will become a commodity. I think we're well on our way in that direction where in today's world, even if you want something 3D printed, you can go to the library, you can give your kid a file to take to school, you can go on Stratasys Direct or Proto Labs or anything and get parts printed.
CADimensions can print your parts too.
Yeah.
Actually,
I should
in
probably
this
mention
room.
us.
Hold on, I'm going to pan right now. See all these printers? Yeah.
Yeah, so
They're for you.
we use these printers to print parts for customers when they send us files and want stuff printed.
Mhm.
And so it's accessible. I think there's still like a learning curve to it, and people don't entirely understand all the limitations. But if you want to learn and you want to print things, it's all there.
Mhm.
And I think it'll only get easier and easier, and machines will get easier to use. They'll get lower in price. And yeah, it'll be a normal thing. It'll be a commodity. I think some of the other technologies like SLA and SLS, those are still going to be industry technologies. And even some of the newer ones we're seeing with the high strength composites and the what's the other one? High speed sintering is an exciting technology that's really just getting started. But normal people won't need those, right? Those will still be for businesses.
I think you're kind of wrong. I think that malls will get phased out. They already are, but everyone likes highly customized things now. So you could go to a mall and get something really generic.
Yeah.
Or if you just go on whatever online store it is, and you get it tailored directly for you.
That's a really good point too. A really big retail trend is high customization,
Yeah.
and 3D printing is perfect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like your example earlier with phone cases is kind of low-hanging fruit, but you
Yeah.
take that beyond that to a custom door knocker for your front door or whatever it might be, and you can get really, really creative.
Yeah.
I love a 3D printer just in my house. We were talking before the podcast started. We were missing a clip. And we were like, oh, we need to 3D print this clip because we went to Guitar Center to try to find this clip, and the guy didn't have the clip, and we're like, we can't find this clip.
I have some big news.
We need to 3D print the clip.
We finally have new equipment everyone actually has a nice microphone.
Yes.
We have another one in the mail. Ken was very busy today. Thank you to YouTube. So thank you for watching our videos enough for us to be able to buy microphones.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I feel like we've grown up so much having done this podcast for over a year now.
Yeah. Thank you for supporting us. And if you guys, again, we say this all the time, but we want to hear from you guys. We want comments, we want feedback, we want suggestions, we want topics. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, we're not that intelligent, but we're going to try.
And I really do read all the emails that you send me about recommendations, and as obscure as it is, I will listen to all of them. We might not get to it every day or every time, but I am definitely entertained and always learn something new too.
Yeah. So if you guys are on the internet or magazines or anything and you see a cool story that you want our opinion on, feel free to drop it in the comments, and we will either reply to it directly. Maybe we'll feature it in the next podcast. Who knows what'll happen, but we can guarantee that Ben will read it. Anyway, let's sign off. My name's Adam. We're here with Kevin and Ben. Thank you for watching. If you like this sort of thing, maybe you want to subscribe to our channel. There's a button in the
to it
in the
Pretend
app.
You're on the screen.
In
Point
the
down
app.
to the subscribe.
It's there or it's there. I don't know, man. But
somewhere in this general direction.
you can figure it out. I believe in you. Subscribe to our channel, and that way, it's free, by the way. And when we drop another podcast, you will be the first ones notified to see it.
I'm gonna try it. Click the button right here-ish, because I think it's on the left bottom.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend.
See ya. Subscribe.